The Pope and Young Club wants to welcome you as we rally together to ensure our bow hunting opportunities for today and tomorrow. You've come to the podcast that believes in preserving, protecting, and promoting the passion for bow hunting. Join us as we strive to be the voice of today's bow hunter. This is the Pope and Young Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pope and Young Podcast. Jason Roundsville here, joined as always with my co-host just off camera, Dylan Ray. We have with us today, we have the Vice President of Pope and Young. We have Dallas Smith with us from Utah. Dallas, welcome.
Thanks, Jason and Dylan. I appreciate this opportunity to sit down and talk to you and share a little bit about what's going on this weekend at panel.
Absolutely. And so for those of you who don't know, we are in Reno, Nevada, site of the upcoming convention. We've got some of the best, 20-some of the best measures in the world on site doing accuracy checks and everything for these the best of the best animals.
You know, Jason, you know why we have 27 of the best measures here?
Well,
it's simply because we've got 170 of the very best animals ever shot.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And for those of you who aren't aware of the numbers, 170 is an absolute, this is a whole nother level than what we've had before. We've had some great conventions. Our last convention was the most we'd ever had, and I think that was...
It was right around 120 to 124, it seems, what I recall.
Yeah.
Significantly higher. And, of course, one of the big additions to that is last convention cycle we added recognizing velveted entries in all categories. So that's been a tremendous boost for the records program.
Yeah, especially, the West Coast. There's a lot of opportunities for velvet trophies.
Yeah, but you're sitting right by a giant whitetail.
Well, that's true.
And that's just one of many that we've got here. It's unbelievable. It's like they're coming out of the woodwork.
They're coming out of somewhere. It's not the woodwork that I spend any time around. So it's 170, over 170 trophies. And that's just amazing.
So I'm going to put it in perspective for everybody out there who likes the big numbers. In this room and at convention, we will have displayed almost 36,000 inches of horn, antlers, and skulls. It's unbelievable when you put it in perspective that way. It's a record book all on its own.
That's probably, I wonder if there's ever been, I guarantee you there has never been an archery killed display of this magnitude.
I don't know if there's ever been one, period. I know in my tenure in the club and being around archery for 50 years, I've never been in a room with this much phenomenal animals, just the sheer magnitude of quality, the variety of animals. I mean, we've got animals from every category of the 29 species in the room except the polar bears. And we're having a special panel in Canada because we can't bring those into the U.S. yet. So I'm not even counting those. I'm just saying what's here today and what these superb volunteers of the club, both Boone and Crockett and Pope and Young, measuring here today. So I wish I had the number offhand, but we probably have in excess of 600-700 years of experience measuring these animals.
I'll bet.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. It's hard to get 600 years of experience on anything, period.
Yes.
But we're very well represented, and from all over the country.
Yeah, we've got them from all over. And speaking of from all over the country, I was in the room earlier, and I was listening to some of the stories of how these animals got to panel. This is if you're like a lot of us, you've never had an animal invited to panel because maybe it just wasn't in that just very tip-top echelon. But it is a huge honor to be invited to panel, to have your animals displayed at convention. And because of that, we have hunters that take amazing efforts to get their stuff to us. Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops are phenomenal partners with us. They offer shipping for a number of the trophies.
We couldn't do it without them, not at this scale.
No, and we appreciate them for that. And but even outside of that, there's a certain deadline where you have to have your trophy there. And we had Nicole, who shot, I think it's the largest whitetail buck shot by a female hunter with a bow. And it was, I think, in Ohio. It was in another show. She could not get it to Bass Pro to have them ship it because it was committed to another show. And she drove that thing across the country to make sure that it was here in Reno for us.
Yeah, that's dedication right
Oh,
there.
my gosh.
And, some people would say that's ego, and I don't believe that a bit.
No.
I believe it's dedication and giving that animal the recognition the animal deserves.
It is. I agree. I don't see any part of ego in that at all.
Yeah.
I see what I see is respect. Is she has a respect, and we actually had her on the show. We had her on the podcast, and she is very humbled and so excited to be in that position. And I don't think ego comes into play. I think she truly believes and respects that animal and knows it belongs here, and went to an incredible journey to make sure it was here. Had another guy drive a full-size moose across the country to get here. We had people drive from, I think, Quebec down into the U.S. to bring trophies across to get it shipped. Just all kinds of stories like that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And in every cycle, every recording period, we see similar dedication to bow hunting, to these animals.
Yes.
People spend a lot of money going hunting. They spend a lot of money on equipment, but they don't stop there. You know, they support us as an organization by bringing those animals here and letting us verify where their scores are and how they rank. And it's very important. It's important that we use this information in our books statistically to show what archery is capable of doing. And it puts everything in perspective. And we've been doing this now for, 62 years?
62 years.
Yeah.
And I think for some folks, they don't realize that this is an ongoing battle. There are places that still do not allow bow hunting because they don't feel it's an effective way to take big game. So our books and our program are still being utilized in places. One of the most recent ones was Russia. Is, hey, here's a place that didn't allow bow hunting, and then, we were able to show with the huge number of animals that have been taken with the bow and arrow that this is an effective way of taking animals.
Absolutely. Another case in point, we've been working on Greenland. We recognize caribou and muskox from Greenland, and they don't actually allow traditional hunting there. And they still don't, but we've been providing the information to show that the traditional side is every bit as vital and viable as a weapon as the compound bows are. So hopefully with that data set, we can change hearts and minds.
Absolutely. And it's, there are other projects that we're in the middle of that, once again, we're using our data points to help promote bow hunting and hopefully get new opportunities for bow hunters right here in North America.
Yeah. And speaking of that, we're coming out with a new book this convention. It'll be introduced at the convention, and it's unique in the fact it's actually a 2-volume set. And every animal in our data set is in the book.
Yeah, everything that's been entered.
There's no more. It's only in the book one cycle if it's a 125-inch whitetail. It's in there from this point forward. So it's pretty exciting.
I'm excited to see that book. I know.
Yeah. I'm going to have to hire a Sherpa to pack it home for me.
You may need that.
I don't know if I can lift it.
They're not small, but I'll tell you what, they are completely comprehensive. And I've made some of the conference calls and have visited with the folks putting it together, and there is an amount of effort that has gone into this book that is tremendous. And I believe that the finished product is going to show exactly that.
Yeah, we've got a great team that's working on that. The board of directors, the volunteers and the office staff have all come together, and it's really a finely tuned working machine.
Yes. Even if sometimes that finely tuned working machine needs a hammer. No, it is.
A sledgehammer.
Yes. No, it's exciting. I can't wait to unveil that at convention. And, there are right now, you can pre-order a copy of the book online. So just go to the website and they can get that taken care of.
Yeah, and that's really important to announce because the cost of producing this book is very high, so we had to do a limited run. So there is only going to be 750 of these printed.
Period.
And it's first come, first serve. So get in early, reserve a couple sets for Christmas presents, and make sure it's there. If we sell out, we'll entertain maybe doing a second run, but as of now, we are limited to 750.
Yeah, our costs on this project, just since it started a couple of years ago, with COVID and some of the paper shortages, I'm not sure, but our costs may have doubled on this project.
Yeah.
It's astounding to find out that you're signing contracts and then there's clauses in there for if paper goes up, that has to go in.
Yeah, and we did something a little bit different this year. We actually started it last cycle with the velveted book, and we went out and solicited contributions from individuals, from industry partners, to offset that cost a little bit, so we can offer this book at a reasonable price and make sure that we have it for the history of it.
Yeah. Yep. No, and it's. I'm just excited to see it. So if you want one, make sure you pre-order a copy to make sure that you get one.
Yeah,
because there's
absolutely.
a limited number, and we're going to have them at convention. And I think there's going to be a lot of excitement. We're going to send a lot of them home with folks with their Sherpas.
Yep.
So, no, that's exciting. The book, we keep talking about convention. I am. We've been working on this for a long time. It's finally coming to fruition. The last two conventions we've planned have had, Virginia just got flat canceled, and then Reno last year we had to move it at, the last minute from April to July. So we're excited that this one is on track. It is shaping up to be fantastic. We have, Dallas, like you were saying, a record number of entry of trophies this year. We have record number of trips from our outfitter partners. We've got people coming in to show you their trips, to show you their products. I'm really excited about this convention.
Oh, it's going to be phenomenal. Every time it just seems like it gets better and better and better.
Yes.
And we had some roadblocks here the last couple of cycles. But all in all, we came through it strong, and we're going to use this as a building platform to keep moving forward. I mean, we've got 170 this time. We're going to set our targets higher,
I can say my team will attest that the target may have been set higher than 170.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
yeah.
I'm thrilled with 170. I think for this, anything over 140 was huge. And to get to 150 was a milestone. To get to 160 was a milestone. And then, just recently we just came together and got over 170. But
I wish just to keep it in perspective, before we started this, I wish I would have went and actually seen how many animals were invited to panel. But I believe we're about 70% of the invited show up, something in that neighborhood. Those are rough numbers.
Yeah.
But so there were well over 200 animals invited here. So we do have room to grow. I mean, it would be ideal to see them all. And,
Yeah, 200 was a number I threw out at Tim. And I think if he hears the number 200 anywhere along the line, he's probably going to throw something.
Yeah.
But you have to always, once again, we have high expectations for this group and for the team. And I'll be darned if they don't keep coming through. So,
the other neat thing about these animals is, like the animals we have next to us here, this fine antelope and beautiful velveted whitetail, they're beautiful mounts. The
Gorgeous.
taxidermy work is superior. We've got animals that are just skulled, We've got life-size animals. Some of the sheep mounts in here, and a life-size moose.
Moose.
I mean, if you've never been up close and personal to a moose, you got to come here just to stand by this thing.
Yes.
Because it's just all stopping to be there and put it in perspective to, you've been around horses and cattle and whatnot, and all of a sudden here's a high-end. I think it's a Canadian moose, isn't it? That's here.
I believe
it's
that's
Canadian.
a life size,
and it's not even the biggest of the moose species,
No.
but even a small one's big.
They're big. Yeah. No, was definitely excited. I mean, there's full-body caribou. There's full-body sheep. There's
Full-bodied
an elk,
deer.
A deer, elk.
Mule deer, whitetail, full bodies.
So beautiful taxidermy.
Yeah, yeah.
And, once again, that's, further perspective, the 36,000-inch thing is pretty, I appreciate you mentioning that, because that's just a
Well,
huge
we don't
number.
often look at numbers in that manner. It's just a fun number because everybody's so the size of the number is important to everybody.
Yeah.
And we try to make that as consistent as possible.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw out a big number just to
And so to put that number into perspective, so this is almost 36,000 inches of net official measured scores.
That's true. That was net.
Okay, so just to keep this into perspective, 36,000 net inches of official measurement score would be approximately, let me do the math here, 97,000 inches of Facebook number. So we have almost 100,000 inches of Facebook size trophies here.
I don't know who your Facebook friends are, Jason, but I don't know. I might be defriending if they're that inflated.
Hey, you know what? I haven't seen a lot of 200-inch bucks out there, but man, if you look at Facebook, it seems like people are shooting 3-4 a day.
Yeah.
But no, it's going to be tremendous. Like I said, the auctions line up great. We've got some surprises that keep looking online. You're going to see some wonderful surprises.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because our media people have been doing a phenomenal job of getting the highlights of the auction, and now we'll start seeing some of these animals being highlighted up to convention, and it's always nice to see that in the build-up, but there isn't a photographer in the world that can do these animals justice.
They can't.
I look at them in a picture and I walk up to them and I just, oh my goodness, it's night and day in some cases.
Yes, tremendous. It's. I mean, and you talked about the inches. The other thing so last time we had that ballroom basically surrounded with trophies, and we had so many more trophies this time. We're having to completely change the way we display these things, and no one will be disappointed. I guarantee you will not walk into that room and not be impressed with this display, because we just talked to the hotel today and came up with some solutions, and I'm excited. I'm really excited about how we're going to be doing that.
Yeah, we've got a great team that's putting this on, and I've got full confidence in you that you will do the best event that we can do.
Well, we're trying. If you had to pick one when it comes down to convention, what's one of the highlights? Is it the trophies? Is it the people? Is it the...
Well, I mean, we are here because of the animals.
That's a fact.
Now, with that being said, for me, it's the camaraderie.
Yeah.
It's really, truly one of the only places you can come and rub elbows with some of the very best there ever has been.
Yeah.
And it's not just you've got the past, but you got the present. You got the next generation of top quality bow hunters. And, and these guys aren't just shooting the largest animals. They're traveling, they're doing their homework, and their dedication to the pursuit of that animal with a bow is just unbelievable. So for me personally, that's my top thing.
Good.
You know, the animals are just the frosting on the cake.
Yeah.
You know, and a buddy of mine uses the frosting and cake analogy. If you're going to be a bow hunter, you better like the cake, because that frosting's just a small piece of it, and the frosting is like the harvest of the animal.
Yeah.
You know, for most of us, animals of this quality will never have the opportunity to shoot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've been fortunate. I've had four or five animals called to panel over the years. Feel amazingly fortunate to have that opportunity for those animals to be recognized.
Okay, so Dallas Smith, and I've seen a lot of the pictures of this stuff you've taken, and you get some amazing trophies. And you've had four, or just once again, to put this into perspective, what it means to be called to panel. You've had 4 or 5 called to panel.
Yeah, so this is my 50th year of bow hunting. So I grew up in the game, was introduced to it at a very young age, and I never looked back. I never wanted to do anything but that. So, I mean, I don't keep track of how many animals. I don't have my hit list there like some of the guys do. You know, I've killed several animals, and I'm proud of the largest ones, and I'm proud of the smallest ones.
Yeah.
And you know, it's quite funny. I remember the failures better than the successes. So, because I learned a lesson there.
Yeah.
You know, when I messed up one year. I missed this caliber of animal, a Coues whitetail down in Mexico.
Right.
Missed him at under 20 yards. And I'll never make that mistake again. I guarantee you. And then I shot a monster stone sheep on a 4th day of my stone sheep hunt. And, I mean, I remember it and I celebrate it, but I don't know that I could duplicate that shot again.
Right.
You know I won't duplicate that missed shot again because it's you know, it's branded into my mind.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a real important part of it. And that's part of the camaraderie here. We don't just talk about the successes.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about the losses and not the losses, but the misses and the mishaps that go along with it. So yeah, the could have beens.
Yeah. We had Josh on from Wild Fit, and I think that was when he was talking. I think that was I don't know if it was the highlight of his season, but that was the one most memorable thing. Is he missed an opportunity at a big mule deer buck and missed a shot, and he's like, man, I want that one back, and you can never get one back.
You can't get it back. No, you can't get it back.
Try to get another shot, but you never get it back.
Yeah. So we've got iconic names, iconic bow hunters here. Chuck Adams is coming.
Yep.
We've got, you know, Chuck was the first one to do all 29 animals with a bow and arrow set. We've got Jack Frost, who is a staple in our club and in the convention. And Jack was actually the first person to kill all 4 sheep with a bow and arrow.
Okay.
You know? I mean, these guys are true, iconic, accomplished bow hunters. And they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like we do, and they'll talk to you.
Yeah.
They want to talk to you. They're approachable.
Yeah, I actually had somebody come up to me, and I forget, it might have been after Omaha, and they came up to me and they just had this kind of look on their face. And I was like, hey, how's your convention going? And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I just sat down at a table and I'm talking to somebody. I'm just talking to this guy about bow hunting, and I'm telling him about my hunt, and he was asking me questions about this hunt that I had just gone on. And he said it wasn't even a big deal. It was just, you know, a local deer hunt. And he said, then all of a sudden I start talking to him. I realize it's Jack Frost. And he was actually interested in what my hunt was like, not just, you know, talking about his. Yeah. And he's done stuff all over the world.
Oh, man.
And the look on his face was just so cool because he couldn't believe that Jack Frost asked him about his hunt.
Sure. And if you're not an outgoing person, man, you can just stay in the shadows here and listen. And the stories that you're going to hear are, you can read every volume of bow hunting magazines that's ever been printed, and you're going to get more out of this
Yes.
than you ever were those magazines. So, and especially if you're an outgoing person and aren't afraid to go up and approach people. And most of them are very good people. So, and that's just 2 out of many. I mean,
dozens. Yeah.
You know, I probably shouldn't have mentioned those 2 because I'm leaving out people I shouldn't. But there's a host of people that'll be there that most bow hunters would recognize.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you have to mention a couple, there's a couple that, you know, are relevant right now because I think Chuck Adams has a potential world record Sitka blacktail that would surpass Jack, who I believe has the current world record in that category. So, you know, if you have to talk about good bow hunters, the names that people remember or recognize that are literally dealing with world record caliber animals. It's a couple of good ones.
And just the camaraderie about those high-end guys. I've been doing it a long time, but these guys are next level. I mean, these are guys that I've looked up to most of my life. Yeah. And seeing the competitiveness side of it, you know, we've got Frank Noska.
I was just going to mention that.
And you know, you take Chuck Adams, which is arguably one of the best there's ever been, and you've got Frank there that has 3. He's working on his 3rd Super Slam. He's within a couple of animals of his 3rd Super Slam. It's like, oh my goodness, how do you do that? You know, that's just pure dedication to what you love. That's the love and the passion just boiling over.
Well, and you mentioned the competitiveness because and it's very friendly.
Oh yeah.
But I was talking to Frank earlier today, and I mean, here we're in a room with just tremendous trophies, and I said, gee, Frank, how many do you have at panel this time? And I can't remember what he said, maybe 3 or 4, which, as you can attest, is a big number to be invited. And then he goes on to say, because him and Chuck have a little rivalry, and I think Frank's chasing that all-time number of entries that Chuck has that he's not going to catch just yet.
Well, it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, convention to convention, you know, Frank will be here and then Chuck will be here, and they kind of leapfrog. And, you know, the other good thing is it keeps them entering the animals into the book, into the data set. So, you know, like on whitetail, our minimums for whitetail at 125, a lot of people, they'll shoot, let's say, a 150-inch buck, which is a tremendous buck, and they may have 3 or 4 125s or 130s. They don't even bother to put those in because it doesn't meet their standard, you know. But the thing is, we need those. That number is set there for a reason, and we want to measure as many of those and put those into the database that we can. So it keeps that moving.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it's
when you see a Chuck Adams put 125, 26, 28-inch whitetail in the books. This guy has how many world records, and he's still doing it?
And over 200 entries.
Yeah. So it's really kind of fun to see, and we can all learn from it and do it. I'm guilty. I've got animals that I haven't had measured, and I think, well, I use the excuse I don't have a measure in my backyard, but you know, I know some. Yeah, I got to get them out there.
I just need I just need a measure with a little looser tape. But man,
no, that's not what you want. That's not what you want.
Well, you can't find them because I've tried bribing some of these guys, and they're like, "No, man, it is what it is. You ain't getting an extra 1/8 inch off of this one."
But you know, we all define the trophy individually. Yeah, we set numbers for the book, but there's some places that you just aren't going. You may live in a place that you are not going to harvest record book animals.
Yeah,
you know, they're the white buffalo. You know, they just don't exist.
Yeah,
and we still have to hunt those animals and harvest them. It's our duty. We have to do that. That's part of the North American model of management. So we can't get lost in just the quality of the animals, because it's every bit as important to harvest the non-record book animals as it is the record animals.
Well, I think sometimes, and I've had people come tell me this, that I don't really believe in scores because I think a hunt is about so much more than a score, and I agree with that completely. The score does not dictate the success of a hunt. It's just one part of it, and it's I mean, if the only thing you're judging your hunt on is just whatever the final score is, you're missing out on 99% of that hunt.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we have, in some cases, the reputation to where that's all we care about. But if you're here talking to people, that's absolutely not what we're about.
Right.
But, I mean.
Well, and to put it in perspective, we get a lot of people that, I won't put it in there because you do deductions. You work on net instead of on gross. And, we can't, no, we won't throw away 62 years of data in order to adjust our scoring system at a whim because somebody wants a bigger number.
Yeah.
Because the data is there. You're just comparing inches to inches. That's all you're doing, you know. And if a numeral, one larger numeral means more to you than the other one, I'm sorry, because that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
We do celebrate the top end.
Yes.
We do. I personally celebrate every harvest.
Every time, yeah.
So, and
sometimes every opportunity, because there's not always a harvest.
Yeah, well, and when the freezer's getting a little empty, my my target bucks might go down a little bit, So that's okay. We all have our reasons for doing what we do, and we want to have everybody's. They're all valid.
Yeah. Well, I think you see some people, especially the bow hunters. I think some of them, they get almost excited on the day they hear that they drew a tag as they did the day they filled that tag.
Well, yeah, on some of these tags anymore, you're waiting 20 plus years to draw, and you're not going to draw it again.
Yeah.
And it's a double-edged sword. And I know a lot of people that builds pressure on themselves to produce.
Yep.
Which is too bad, because when you put that pressure on yourself, the enjoyment gets backseated to that pressure. And I guess my advice is just be thankful that you're out there.
Yeah.
And I have never gone on a hunt thinking that I was going to shoot a world record. I've always gone on every hunt I've ever gone on prepared to do that,
if the
mentally and physically, and take the proper steps to get there. I've always lived my life by the being lucky, and the definition of luck is where preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's how I define it.
Yeah, I was going to say being lucky. It doesn't hurt to be, a great target archer and a great shot. That doesn't hurt.
Yeah. It helps. Yeah. It helps. But, in my tenure of hunting, the hunting aspect, the woodsmanship far outweighs the marksmanship.
Yeah.
For me. Some people it don't, And I've been truly blessed to know some of the very best archers in the world, and some of them aren't very good hunters. They're incredible shots, but they're just not as good hunters. But they've got the marksmanship side of it down.
There you go.
But for me, I've never been that top echelon shooter, so I had to become a better hunter.
Yeah, I've never been the top echelon shooter. So maybe I just need to be a better hunter.
Well, you need to work on it. I mean, we should always strive to be better at whatever.
Yeah.
We never should be complacent. And I think if you had the time to have an honest conversation with most of the guys in here, they don't take it for granted. They're doing the study. They're doing the field prep. They're interviewing people that's been on hunts with certain outfitters. They're doing the
Research.
legwork to make their hunts successful. We do that in business. We do it in our personal life. So we should be doing it in the field also.
Yeah.
It's all part of it.
So what is, I don't know, I may have changed. What is your top of your bucket list right now?
Top of my bucket list. Here I made a conscious effort here about 10 years ago to pursue the 29. And I'm whittling away at them. I still got, 7, I think, is where I'm at. But I'm going polar bear hunting here in a few weeks. So right now that's heavy on my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Top of my list. I honestly, to be 100% honest with you, I can't wait until I complete it, if I do complete it, simply so I can focus on the things that I really love doing.
Right. Take the pressure
I haven't
off.
been on an elk hunt for 5 years, and I'm thinking to myself, 20 years ago I said I'll never go a year without elk hunting, and now here I am 4 or 5 years into it and haven't been on an elk hunt with my buddies.
Yeah.
That's weighing on me pretty heavy. So
that makes sense. So, well, here's another question that I'll throw out there. You're on the board, so you've obviously seen some of the raffles we have going on. So, first thing, what do you think about potentially winning a hunt with Chuck Adams? Spending a weekend camp with one of the best archers ever.
Yeah, anybody that is bow hunting, that could and should be a highlight of their bow hunting careers. I've met Chuck and I've talked to Chuck several times. He's a great guy.
He really
and
is.
to spend more time than just a casual conversation with him, it's like, what could I learn?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, if somebody wrote the book on it, he's the one that did. Or one of them that did.
Yes.
I think, wow. Jason, can I rig that hunt or rig that raffle?
I don't get to put in for you. As board members and volunteers, you guys can put in for them. As a staff guy, I don't get to put in for that one. But that's one that I would, because it's just, where else could you get an opportunity like that?
Yeah, and how amazing is it that Chuck has committed to doing this?
Not only did he commit to do it, but at his request, we're drawing the winner at convention. Because we said, hey, here's what we're going to do. And he came to us and he says, hey, is there any way I can draw that in Reno? And we're like, well, you're Chuck Adams. If you want to draw the winner, then okay. So we made that. So he's excited about it. It's not just something he's doing for it. It's something he's excited about.
Yeah.
And so that was really neat to me, really refreshing.
It's a great concept in a raffle, and I hope that we have these type of opportunities with other individuals in the future. We keep pushing the envelope to find the best and offer the best. I mean, this is a major fundraising push for our organization, for our day-to-day operations and for our conservation efforts. So we're trying to think out of the box and offer things that you can't get at your local pro shop.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of bigger and bigger and bigger, how about the convention raffle this year? 4 choices, and you're gonna have to pick one because we make everybody. So for those of you who haven't heard, choice number 1, Yukon Moose with McMillan River. Bucket list item for a lot of people. Number 2, mountain goat and brown bear with Peter Barilla. Also bucket list items for a lot of folks. Option number 3 is with Mochweir in South Africa. It is a lion, Cape buffalo, crocodile, sable, and a lioness. There's a couple of bucket list items there for me. There are some items, some of the things on that list, like the lion, that's not anything that I had ever looked at being able to do. And then all of a sudden you look at it and you're like, you know what? Maybe this is just a little more achievable than I realized.
Right.
Not easy,
Yeah.
but it's there. Option number 4 is with Rainy Pass Lodge, the longest running lodge in Alaska. Steve and Denise Perrins, amazing people. Doll sheep, brown bear, caribou, and black bear.
Wow.
So if you have to pick, I put you on the spot. Which one?
It's almost impossible. So, but I tell you, for me, I had the privilege to go up hunt with McMillan River with Don Lynn last year, and I can't begin to describe how amazing it is.
Yeah.
Just where you are in the world, the quality of the animals, the knowledge of his guides and staff, and just the overall everything to do with it. It was just phenomenal. And, given that, because I've been there, I'd have a hard time not picking that one.
Okay.
And I know all the others.
Yeah.
And Peter Barella's a great guy, and I'd love to go spend the time in camp with him, not to take anything away from him or Matsuar. Those guys are great friends of mine.
Yeah.
Rainy Pass, the Perrins.
Oh, man.
There's not a bad choice.
There's not a bad choice. And it's we're going to make when we announce that winner, we're going to make somebody's decade. This is not a once in a, this is not making your year. This is making your decade.
So I'm going to throw out a challenge to you.
Okay.
I want to see this caliber of raffle. The first guy out of the bucket chooses his, the next guy chooses it, the next guy chooses it, and the fourth guy chooses the fourth hunt. We need to give all 4 of those away in the future.
We're not going to be able to limit the tickets as much.
Well, and that's okay.
But your odds will be the same.
Yeah.
We'll sell more tickets, but you'll have – so we'll have to keep our odds. All right, that's interesting.
I'm just throwing that challenge out there because there's not a raffle that exists in that magnitude. I mean, this is a top shelf raffle the way it is.
Yes.
If we could have all 4 of those and give away all 4 of those hunts in one night.
Holy crap.
I mean, this is something that's, and I don't know if we can get there, but we're going to work towards it.
That's hundreds of thousands of dollars in hunts. I mean,
just imagine how many smiling faces would be in that room.
All right. Hey, we're always trying to get bigger and better.
The gauntlet's been thrown out.
Thrown down. Holy smokes. Well, we've had multiple winter raffles. We've just never had multiple winter raffles on trips like this.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I have been in the last month and a half, I've been at Dallas for the DSC show. I just got done with Nashville for the SCI. I was at Western Hunt Expo, at the Sheep Show, and there are a lot of great organizations, and there are some phenomenal opportunities out there. And in all honesty, I did not see any for trips of this magnitude with as good of odds as what we're offering.
Yeah.
And so it's a good win-win opportunity. It's a $100 ticket. I don't know. It's the only place I know where you can get a Yukon moose or an African safari or a Perrins hunt for $100. So we tried to price it reasonably. We set the limit of tickets. What some of our people said was too low, but we want to sell this thing out, and we're going to draw it at convention and make somebody's decade. We're also going to crush somebody because they're going to have to choose between those 4. And some people can't choose.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
It really is. And that truly is, what do you do? It's start flipping the coin and see where it lands.
And there's no wrong answer. There's not a bad trip on there. It's not like, there's just no bad trip. They're all phenomenal, just absolute bucket list items, for most people. And so it's pretty exciting to be part of. And, I'm just going to throw the thanks out to our members who are supporting us with buying tickets. If you don't have your tickets, get them, because we will sell this thing out. And you do want a chance at this. And then to our outfitter partners, they just, every time we keep going back to them with another ask, and, they just find a way to make it work. And it's it's some of our outfitters who are coming up with the bigger and better. You know, when we went to Steve Perrin's, I'm like, hey, Steve, here's what we're trying to do. And he's like, well, what if we did a little bigger? And I'm like, well, how are we going to go bigger? And then he came out with that package, and I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that's, you know, and what a great opportunity. That one scares me.
Oh.
I mean, to put that much pressure on an individual in one hunt, I hope we don't give him a heart attack.
I'm telling you. Well, and then you talk, and I just saw him day before yesterday in Nashville, and I'm talking to him, and he did a little quick video for us because they're also doing an auction hunt that's a very similar hunt where you can even choose to add moose. But even on that, he's talking about, he says, oh, this is in a 2-bear zone, and I mean, so. Whew, man,
it just goes on and on.
It's just on and on. Yeah. So,
hey, you know, there was something else that I wanted to bring up at the convention this year. We're having the first ever world record field judging championship. Yeah, first ever. So we had a qualifying round in Ogden. We're going to have some qualifying rounds on the early days of the convention, and then Friday we're going to all the individuals that qualify. We're going to put them through the ringer and see who the best of the best is.
That's good. That's exciting, and you know that is a concept that you came up with, and you know put the spurs to it, and just flat out made it happen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how it's perceived. You know, I know the guys that have went through the course thus far love it.
Yes.
And I'd ask them, what do we need to do? What do we need to change? Nothing. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Just keep doing that. So,
heck, you got the money out of me.
So, well, of course, just not enough.
Not enough. And I didn't win, but so I will not be competing in the World Championships. But
there's still time to qualify.
Oh, I qualify in Reno. All right,
maybe
I will.
Yeah.
I might have to go read that measuring manual.
You know, it's funny watching the individuals go through. Some of them are very analytical. Some of them are just gut feeling.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that I believe the guys that just step up there and the first gut instinct do better at it.
Yeah.
So now in the long run, maybe the analytical guy might be able to excel. But
yeah. It was interesting because I saw when I did that with you in Ogden, and it probably shows that I'm not an official measure because I think I got pretty close on some of the gross scores, but my deductions were not good enough to get me into the finals.
Yeah.
But
well, you know, and really, my whole thought process around this was showing everybody that the numbers are just numbers. You know, there is a reason for the numbers, and we utilize those numbers. But you hear the term 200-inch mule deer thrown around a bunch.
A lot.
And just to put in perspective, we have this so people can judge them. And during the other qualifying rounds, majority of the people overjudge the animals.
Yeah.
You know, because it's in their mind, well, a big mule deer is 200-inch deer. That's a giant mule deer in my book. They just tend to overjudge them.
Yeah.
So the big thing is just keeping it in perspective. Let's have fun with this. Let's rank these animals and verify what they are, and we can look at them in perspective to all the other around them, you know.
You bet. No, it's definitely fun, and it just adds another component of something neat. And because we all hear those guys are like, oh, I can get within an inch of any animal. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, if so, come drop your $20 on the table and show us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, you take a straight, typical 4x4 mule deer that's 200 inches, and then you take another deer that has 200 inches of horn growth, so a netting 200-inch deer, and you put them side by side, and it's like looking at Wilt Chamberlain and John Stockton.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that noticeable of a difference, you know. And I'm kind of probably showing my age by using those guys, but it's really huge, and it's just a number.
Yeah, yeah. You know, here's something that's interesting, and I haven't heard the final potential number, but I know at one point in time during panel this week, there were, I think it was the potential for 12 to 14 new world records. So potential, so not verified, but there was a chance that we could have up to 14 new world records, which just absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah, and that's a point about panel is a world record has to be paneled.
Yes.
In order to be recognized and ranked as number one, the best of the best, it has to go through this process.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily have to be here. There can be special panels arranged for that. And I believe we've had a couple of those this past recording period. But I think there's 10 here.
Okay.
And then the 14 comes from the
Some
others
of the special panels
that have been out there. So there's no question that there will be world records in the convention hall in Reno.
That's good. You know, here's a piece of trivia, and you're pretty knowledgeable, so my guess is that you'll probably know this, but I'll bet a lot of our listeners and members probably would not necessarily guess this. What species is the longest standing world record in our books?
Yeah, I know this one.
Okay, I figured I'm not going to get much by you. You've been around. I'm still learning stuff from you every day. But so anyway,
typical whitetail, Mel Johnson's buck, longest running.
What blows my mind is that is the number one entered animal in our books.
Number one hunted animal in the world.
Number one hunted animal.
No animal hunted more than. There's no big game animal.
No big game animal hunted more. And all of a sudden, so here's the one that is getting chased more than any of the other animals, and that's the longest standing world record.
Yep.
That to me is impressive. And I look at that and I'm just like, wow. What a testament to that trophy. And then, you know, it's out there. I mean, you look at all of these other potential world records coming in, you know, the Brewster buck we had last time. I mean, there's all these big animals, and you just have to look. You're just waiting on pins and needles for, you know, when somebody's going to bring that next one in, and you just never know. But wow, how exciting!
Yeah, it's amazing to me that convention over convention we continually are growing the world records. You know, I hear people talking about the good old days.
They're right now.
And well, in many aspects they are.
Yeah.
You know, hunting opportunities in many aspects have gone down over the last decade. It's harder to get on private lands to hunt. The cost of hunting has gone up. So in that aspect of it, we're not in the good old days. But the quality that we continue to see and the numbers of entries we continue to see is a testament to the North American model of wildlife management.
Yes.
You know, it continually gets better.
Yeah.
In any and every measurable way. Now, there's ebbs and flows in different species. It's not just every species is off the chart, but when you compare it over time, it is.
Yeah.
You know, but it just never ceases to amaze me. Even though Mel Johnson's buck is still number one, we have bucks that are contenders almost every time.
Yeah.
But, you know, the difference between the top, the world record and not, it could literally be 1/8 of an inch.
Wow.
So, and it will be broken. I have every confidence that we, maybe not in my lifetime, but at some point this organization will see a new world record typical whitetail.
It just sure seems so. And then you just think that's the logical one to just keep getting broken. And then you just see how long that one stood, and you're like, it's impressive.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that one, I get a lot of people when I tell them, I say, hey, what do you think the longest stand? And they always pick, like musk ox or something, more not everyday mainstream.
Right.
And you're the first one that's ever guessed that correctly. But I think you knew that. So
yeah, I'm a pretty astute student of this. The thing that amazes me is we're seeing these world records in categories that, not so many years ago, very few people even branched out to hunt. For example, coos deer, cows deer in the Southwest, they've become very popular. I think a lot. They are a subspecies of the whitetail. And so these eastern whitetail hunters are branching out and being adventurous, and we are consistently seeing world records. I don't know that we have one this year, but we've seen in the typical and non-typical categories almost every convention having a world record in one or the other categories of coos deer. So
and there's
pretty amazing,
phenomenal trophies being taken. One of our partners over at KUIU were at their booth the other day, and he was throwing out some pictures and on a buck he just got. So it'll be, I'm pretty sure that'll be at panel next time, because I can't imagine we'd have 5 that are bigger than that. So there's just some tremendous trophies, and the Sitka blacktails, just with what Chuck Adams and some of those other guys are doing up there, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, it really is. And I think a lot of that is people are doing the homework better than they used to. They're not just jumping in their truck and going hunting. You've got Onyx maps and the different map programs that you can you can literally scout online
on your couch,
terrain, finding water holes, finding pinch points, and whatnot. And it's just becoming more and more accessible to the average person to do. It's like with our organization bringing on the trophy search here 5 or 6 years ago, just to be able to go online and target different counties. If you're wanting to see which county is producing over the past 5 years the very top end bucks, you can dig deep enough into that program to get that. So you can start narrowing down. If I'm applying for elk out west, where should I be applying? Well, you can go there and you say, okay, if I'm going to Arizona, I can look at this county and this county and this county. This one's producing the best animals. That's the one I'm going to put in, So those type of scouting tools are being more and more used, and people can target these larger animals. So when I say target it, they're putting themselves in the best opportunity to have an opportunity.
Yes. And it's, because there's places where you can hunt, and if you shoot the biggest buck in a unit, he's still not going to be a contender.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And for me, I think I alluded to it earlier, I've never gone out in the field in my mind I was going to shoot a world record. I'm just going to be prepared to if it happens.
Have you ever seen a world record while you've been hunting? What's the one that you're like, that could have been it?
I can't honestly say, Jason, that I've ever seen a contender, a world record in any of the species that I've hunted.
Gotcha.
I've seen some giants in several of the species.
Yeah.
But none that just stood out that it was a world record. Because, I use what I call the wow factor. If I'm sitting at a tree stand or I'm glassing and I spot an animal that makes me go, wow, I don't care what he scores. I'm going to go shoot that animal.
Yes.
I'm going to go try to shoot that animal.
Yes.
So that's my barometer. And it may not necessarily have a high score. It just may look sexy. It may have gnarly mass and points and just be a freak. And it's like, wow, if I shoot that, nobody else will shoot one like it.
That's
cool. So that's what I go for. You know.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's some people I think just have the opportunity where they see him. I got a good buddy of mine. He's got, I think, 2 of the top 50 mule deer taken with a bow in Oregon, and there is only one buck that he really talks about, and it's neither of those two.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, there was this one buck, and I saw him for 3 years in a row, Big Lou. He named him, and he chased him with his bow for 3 years and just never caught up to him. But he's
and you ask about, we have hunters, Alan Bolin.
Yeah.
Great guy, incredibly hard, dedicated hunter. But he has that focus, and he does that research that he's not going to hunt in an area
without that opportunity.
Without knowing that there could be that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think Alan's had 3 or 4 world records, something to that nature. Phenomenal accomplishment, and he's another one that will definitely be here at convention. That
he's one of our speakers.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly, and just a great guy, a world of knowledge, and he's a younger guy.
Yeah,
that's what I like seeing. You got him. You've got individuals like Danny Evenson and Zach Walton that are, where I was 30 years ago, age-wise, but the accomplishments that they've been able to do in their short time here is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they're very humble about it. They're just great guys to be able to rub elbows with and, make that connection.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Alan, and, I think he was it Doll Sheep, where he's been on 4 Doll Sheep hunts and has not drawn his bow.
Yeah.
It's not that he hasn't seen what most people would consider once in a lifetime trophies. It's that he is looking for that potential world record.
Yeah, his ultimate goal is to shoot the North American 29, that all 29 species make Boone and Crockett.
Yes.
Not just Pope and Young.
Both books.
Both books. Yeah. So that's a lofty goal, and certainly one that's never been achieved. And I believe Alan has the talent to do it.
He's on the right track, and he's got. There's no question he has the fortitude. Most people could not look at an animal that's a potential top 10 animal ever taken with a bow and say, well, I know it's not a top 3, so I'm just going to keep looking.
Yeah.
Most people couldn't do that.
Sure, that's a tough one, unless you've shot a bunch of those animals.
Yeah.
And unless you've got 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that's going to pass up number 3, but once again, they're just numbers. They're just something to measure to and compare everything else to. But that's the caliber of individuals that we have the opportunity to speak with and be around during our convention. Yes,
and it's neat to be able to talk to them, and it's just different. Some folks have that. Some people are turning down a top 10 because they know it's not a number 3, and then other people, you look and you're like, yep, I first animal out of the hunt was turned out to be a world record.
Yeah. That's actually kind of fun when that happens.
Yeah.
Out of the blue, And I think the majority of these world records actually happen that way. It's opportunity, preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
And it came through. So I've just never been fortunate enough to be that opportunity to be presented to me.
Not yet, for me either.
I'm still working on it. I'm not going to give up. I'd love to have that number 1 spot someday.
That'd be all right.
But for me, just having the privilege to hunt, period.
I'm just still trying to get the panel invite. Before I get my first world record, I want to get my first panel invite.
It's humbling. For me, it's humbling. This is the first panel in 3 or 4 that I didn't get an animal called in.
Okay.
And I had brought several other individuals' animals over to be measured. And I thought, boy, it's a whole lot funner bringing my own animals than somebody else's. But I'm happy to do it. I'm glad that but they bring them and commit to bringing them here.
Yeah. Well, Dallas, sure appreciate you spending some time with us today. Appreciate all your work on the board and as our vice president. giving us the leadership and making stuff happen. You look at some of the things, that Ogden event, you're a driving force behind that. The World Championship field judging, you're a driving force behind that. And so I think it's great to give folks an opportunity to hear about all the things that you're doing and those aren't even, there's a whole list of that stuff. But
we got a lot of irons in the fire, and
yes, we do.
From an organization standpoint, we want to make it fun.
Yeah.
We don't want to just make it about shooting the biggest animals. We want to have a stronger presence in the conservation side, the outreach side. We've always been there, but we're making a little more focused effort in some of those areas.
Yeah.
And, we are more, there's more to us than just the animals.
Absolutely.
That is our foundation.
Yes.
That's what we're built on, and we'll always be propped up by.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys for letting me share this time with you.
Absolutely.
And looking forward to seeing you and everyone at convention.
You bet. Let's go look at some more of these monster trophies.
All right. Let's do it.